Ooh, I'm a hot mess today, but you know, it's just important sometimes to come on and check in everybody and say how yous doing. Did anybody see that Dog the Bounty Hunter has been brought in on this? Do you think he's just wanting the $25,000 reward, or do you think he's invested in this for some other reason? Question number one. So we'll wait and see if this populates and see who all pops in if they do, and if not, it'll be here later for anyone that ventures through. We have somebody. Happy Saturday evening, or late afternoon, depending on where you are. Just wanted to come on and talk about the Petito case and let everybody know that it's still kind of stagnant, still kind of just sitting there. There's really not been a whole lot of momentum on this story, which is kind of a bad thing, because when there's no news momentum on the story, then the other emotional people dig into something else and they start going with their emotions and finding links and things that should concern us. So I've seen a lot of people going after links and things that I just don't understand the motivation behind it, potentially. I don't know, maybe I've trained myself to not react emotionally so much that it just doesn't hit me the way it hits everybody else. I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel. So I wanted to come on here and just kind of talk it through with some people. So that's what I did. I'm on here to talk it through with some people. So if you watched my little video last night that I came on the little live about Mr. Walsh's statement last night, that shocked me. That shocked me because Mr. Walsh has been somebody who has seen how feverishly the justice system tries to fight for people to have closure and to understand kind of an appropriate way to get closure, to not get highly emotional. And so we've all watched parents go through horrible court struggles after losing someone in their family, and many of us have experienced it ourselves. Normally, after we go through the justice system and we understand why charges are laid in certain ways, why they are worded in certain ways, and what kind of charge is responded with a certain year or months of jail time, then we begin to understand how many layers there are to the court system, to the justice system, to law enforcement, to investigations, and to all the work that goes in to helping families find some kind of closure. And so for me to watch Mr. Walsh, who has benefited from having some type of closure through the court system, not the best type of closure, because obviously that was a horrible event that he went through. But to see someone who has then gone on to help hundreds of thousands of other people handle these highly emotional issues and experiences, to see him get super emotional on television and lash out verbally was the last thing that I anticipated on seeing him do. It struck me as very much out of his normal persona. It just struck me as odd. And so I've voiced an opinion about it, because number one, he let out certain details that I think the cops potentially could have given to him in confidence that they shouldn't. I mean, why would he need any details about this? Why would he need to be in the loop? But for him to say stuff where they actively in one interview cut him off because he started saying certain things about the state in which Miss Petito was found, I believe that he is overstepping bounds and potentially not understanding that he's overstepping them. Potentially, maybe he's just at an age where he is not as quick on his feet verbally, and he's making mistakes that he wouldn't have made as a younger man. So I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt as to why he would go super emotional and justify harming someone because he's been hurt, When if we justify harming someone because we're hurt, then we have to turn around and justify other people harming other people because they're hurt. And in essence, we have just given everyone an out for murder. And that shouldn't be something that we would want to do. But I did receive a very emotional response from someone who, immediately came on to discredit my opinion, stating I had never been through anything like that, which they don't know me, and they obviously don't know what I've done in my life and the careers I've had and the people that I've supervised, because there for a number of years I dealt with death all the time. And I was thrust into scenarios where I had to deal with grieving families and law enforcement working their butts off in a court system trying to find balance. And so I understand it from multiple perspectives. Then they created this whole equality imbalance, saying that I shouldn't open my mouth because I've not had the life experiences of others, so therefore my opinion was not as equal or as prominent as theirs. And then they basically stated that they could justify harming someone, or they could justify asking someone to take their life or extinguishing a life because they were hurt. But if you can justify hurting someone because you were hurt, that just gives an out to everybody. And so we have to anticipate everybody acting on emotions. And isn't that how we all got here? I mean, we're all watching the Gabby case because we watched a young lady put herself into a highly emotional state, repetitively, most likely, and someone else got highly emotional and it hit the fan and someone got hurt. So if we start justifying our emotions and say we can cause harm because our emotions are hurt, didn't we just justify some horrible people and their behavior too? I mean, we have to think about that. So I know that everybody's going to sit back and go, but I'm mad at the situation. I'm not mad at the people. But sadly, situations are full of people. So we can't really use that. You see, we can't really use that. So everyone is getting so emotional on this case. And it's just, this is just repetitive issue. And it seems like everyone wants to be emotional right now. Does anybody else sense that? Like everybody wants something to be super emotional about so that they can justify their own behavior. It's like, yeah, but I'm going through some really big crap right now. Okay, well, everybody's going through some really big crap right now. Where do we draw the line? Are we going to go back to Old West, like the Wild West, where we all just take care of our own justice? I don't think that would benefit society very much right now, because if you watch TV, the people that are highly emotional seem to be highly emotional over the most fictional of issues. I saw a lady the other day like threaten somebody because the man didn't know her pronouns, but she had made her pronouns up. How is he supposed to know pronouns that are made up? Yeah, and I mean, I understand. We all are very suspicious of this young man. It says it's almost scary how many people hate Baron. I'm suspicious of the young man. I think everything he's done is tacky. It looks really bad. It looks as if he just cut the love off and walked away from it all. And that, in essence, doesn't make sense if you were in a real relationship with real emotions and, So is there a problem? Is he struggling with something? Was something else going on? But the thing I want to really make prevalent is to say, we don't know the whole story. So we have to err on the side of caution. Yeah, I think the last 2 years being shut up in our homes, it's allowed us to create little filters, little hate filters. It's allowed the animosity and the anxiety to build, and we've built these little hate filters that we look at the world through. And the more they separate us, the less we are able to understand and be compatible with others. And it's just like, we've got to live in a world. We need people to survive. We need all kinds to make the world go round. And right now, all we're doing is judging others and screaming that it's my way or the highway, or you hate me because I perceive you as a threat. even though nobody's taking action. Did anybody see the boys that were at Arizona State University at the table? And they had just sat at a table that was in the Multicultural Center, which I think multicultural is why. We all know in America there are so many, it's a melting pot. If you've got 20 people in America, you've probably got a multicultural representation. So I don't know why they need to stamp a name on it. But did anybody see the two boys that got attacked at Arizona State University? And they were just doing their homework and sitting there being quiet. And because of one had like a F Biden shirt on, which I would never wear one of those. I think that's tacky. I think it's tacky to have to, I don't know, just think that you have to be a billboard for, anything that you believe. If I choose who I want to share my beliefs with, and I don't believe everybody needs to have a discussion with me, because I don't believe everybody is ready to have a discussion with me. Oh yeah, and then if you are not getting enough support from the numbers, then you create little wedge issues to pit them against each other, so that they will then try to double back and bring the power on their side. So then the power gets people back on their side just by creating a little issue in the middle. I'm really concerned about the stability of the people in our nation. Because I've been on TikTok on the Ticker Talker this morning, and let me tell you some of the conspiracy theories about all the different homes and the different businesses that the Laundries had up in New York, other children that he's not divulged to the FBI that he had, which I'm sure he did. He just probably, the news media didn't divulge it to the masses. And then the wife working for the DA, and like being friends with the medical examiner that's handling the case. And I understand that looks like a conflict to me as well, in many ways. But I'm not anyone overseeing the case, so that's kind of where my opinion of that ends. But I'm just really concerned that people are so, because this case is not moving forward, people are creating scenarios because they want to have somewhere to fixate their emotions, and then we go in and we go into these hyper emotional little chats online and stuff, and we battle. And I'm like, who does that benefit? Does it benefit you? Because normally that's just going to create a headache for you. Does it benefit the other person? Probably not, because they probably feel just about as bad. I mean, everybody's blood pressure is now up and we're all upset. So why do we do it? Well, a lot of people aren't aware they do it. Like whoever left me that nasty comment on my last video, to immediately discredit me, devalue me, just immediately create an equality issue where my opinion didn't matter because of this, and then justify someone acting on their emotions when we're here because somebody else acted on their emotions. It's like, that just creates a circle, But I see a lot of people that are creating these little scenarios so that they can keep that emotional fixation going. And that's why it's so important, if you get super emotional about these cases, to take a day or two off and just go do something else, do something fun. I'm actually trying to make a funny video on when narcissists see narcissists, and when a narcissist reacts to a narcissist because they don't know they're a narcissist, but they think you're a narcissist. And it's going to be a cute little video, but it's like, why are we all trying to be an emotional pace car for the United States? Who wants that job? Who wants that job? And why is it so important now that we are catering to our own negativity and our own hatred? Why is it okay now? Why is it okay for a certain population, but it's not okay for another population? Because if we want to justify acting on our own animosity and our own emotions, we have to allow other people to justify that as well. And then the people that were fixing to hold to the coals, through the justice system, we have to go, well, if that's the way we're going to do it, then we have to allow them to justify their emotions and actions. I mean, if, give somebody an out with their emotions, and heck, just Dahmer could have got away with anything because he was emotionally screwed up. So we have to be careful when we try to have these little gaslighting, narcissistic ego comments to people on the internet. because by creating a path by which we can justify our own behavior, we often create a path where much worse people can justify their behavior. And we do more harm socially than we do good. And it's because we got super emotional and didn't understand what we were creating, the dynamic we were creating. And, I don't get mad when people have different thoughts and they say stuff like that, but I really responded, and I was like, but, where does it end? If we do this and we allow people to do that, where does it end? And they never responded back. I just thought what Mr. Walsh did was completely out of character. Just completely out of character. And a lot of it may be due to age. He doesn't think as quick on his feet, so, they cut him off on one interview because he started to state, specific case details. I want to know who gave him specific case details. He has no need to be brought into the case. He's not law enforcement. He's not been hired as, a special investigator or anything to anybody. And I thought he predominantly worked with, trafficked children. So when he started showing up doing these interviews and was very angry, I was like, why are you here? Why are you mad? And why are you justifying asking someone to take their life? After helping hundreds of thousands of people in his career. So I don't know, it just seemed completely opposite of what he stood for and how he behaved in his younger days. And I didn't quite understand where he was coming from. But I think a lot of it is, I know everybody thinks I'm crazy, but if you watch the people around you, you watch the people reacting emotionally to these very finite details. Like the girl that, he didn't call me by my correct pronouns, so I attacked him. Well, what are your correct pronouns? Well, I thought them up last year. They're Z and Zer, and you thought them up. Yes, we can make up our own pronouns. Okay, well, but in society where you don't know these people, and they bump into you and they say, oh, excuse me, miss. Obviously, he did not know how to refer to you. So when you corrected him, and he said, I'm sorry, I wanted to go on, that's where it should have ended. But somehow we have justified just hanging on to that emotional rant and tirade and milking it harder than a Holstein cow at dinner time. And I don't know why, as a society, we are doing things like that. Did you catch on my, I had a boy bump into me at the dollar store the other day, and he said, excuse me, sir, and you know something? When you bump into me, I'm solid. So I get that. I probably did, boom, feel like he was bumping into a man. I'm a big, burly woman. And I had on a ball cap, and I've got shoulders my shoulders are probably as wide, if not wider, than my husband's. And so I understand exactly why he may have said that, and I giggled, and he goes, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, it happens a lot, don't worry about it. So it didn't bother me, and I completely understand how somebody can make that mistake. And it dictated nothing about me or my world, so it had no power over me, so I didn't respond. I thought it was funny. There was a time when I was younger that I had a lot of rage. I went through a lot as a kid and a teenager and a young lady that, I don't talk about because I've dealt with it and I processed it and I've gone on. But there for many years I was very angry and I was very hostile, and it was because I had to be defensive for so many years that it just became the normal pathway that I followed. It became the ego, the unconscious behavior that I immediately went with. And it wasn't until one day I realized that I was behaving just like the person that I had been protecting myself from. Hi, Denise. And then I was like, oh my gosh. In the process to not be a victim, I became the aggressor. And then I became aware of that path that I unconsciously followed a lot with my anger. And I stopped it and I pushed it down. And I said, when I feel that now, I'm aware and my ego no longer dictates me. I can think this through. And from that day forward, I've been able to make much better decisions and understand how I respond to things and what triggers me, and how I need to kind of balance myself to look at things, because I pay attention to how I react. But I think mostly in this world we pay attention to how others react, and we judge and dictate their reaction, and we don't really look at our own, which the only person that you can control is you. So we should look at our own. And, you hear the justification where people are like, oh, I'm mad at the situation, not the people. But situations have people in them. So by default, you're still mad at people. So you can't get out of it that quick, And I agree that the laundry boy has some massive personality flaws and has some massive explaining to do. And there are super major concerns in this case for behavior, relationship behavior that, could be, a couple years or more old, what trauma that may have been in there for him, her, both. But I can't understand being so mad without a full investigation, without all of this going to court and us knowing as much as we can from having him in custody and questioning him. I can't believe that someone would get on TV and be so mad at this stage in the game that they would be like, just stop yourself. Because I've met some people that the world would call horrible, horrible, horrible people that are institutionalized and not salvageable. But they were still people. And they still felt, and they still had some worth. They were still someone's loved one. They still played a role in someone's life. And I don't know, maybe I just don't rush to discredit people. I rush to question responses, and especially hyper-emotional responses, especially from people that lead our society and kind of help, they're the emotional pace car for the U.S. Well, is John Walsh now the emotional pace car for people watching this event unfold? Does everybody get to act like him? Or are we getting our pitchforks and our fire at evening time and marching out? Because it sounds like we've regressed as a society. And I thought about that all night. And I thought about, he's reading words and reacting to a case file. What got him so worked up? He should, in that regard, know how to handle himself, be very comfortable handling details that are emotionally triggering, because it's what he's done his whole life, and be able to understand the legal ramifications of a case that is ongoing, because he's dealt with it his whole career, his whole life. So what potentially ticked him off that bad? I mean, you're living 3 doors down from where Hillary lived. You got a good life, you've made good money, and you've been through a lot, but you got a little bit of closure, and you turned trauma into help for everyone else. So I would think that would have been like a huge healing scenario for him, to where he wouldn't have that pent-up rage anymore. Because I know when I really evaluated what was creating my rage and my defense mechanism, it just completely broke it down. And every time I felt the rage, I would immediately question it and go, where did that come from? Let's find where that came from, because I don't like that. And so I had to break myself down into small parts to understand all of me. And so now when I respond, I go, oh, and I can make a split decision and know I need to shut up until I can deal with it. It was just very strange to see him not be able to do that when I know he has potentially handled far worse than I have. Now, I mean, I've walked murder scenes. I've been in houses with bullet holes in the wall and brain matter on the ceiling. I've seen a lot. I still wake up and have autopsy photos in my head. And I will forever do that. But you have to learn to handle that. Because if I allow that to dictate me, what worth am I to anybody? How can I help anybody? I can't. I'm just triggered. I just walk around triggered. And I'm just, it's like Plinko. You just bounce wherever, whatever triggers you, and you can't dictate your own path. I don't want to play emotional Plinko. How you doing, Priscilla? We're talking about emotional Plinko. Anybody watch The Price is Right? But I feel like we're all playing emotional Plinko, that we get on an emotional tangent and we just bounce, you know, off of the walls as we're mad, and we don't make sense of anything anymore. You know, and I know in life we can't necessarily dictate our entire path, but we can dictate the collisions we have with our emotions. So I'm like, you know, we can make the fall softer for everybody and ourselves. So, I don't know. But I got a response from somebody last night, and it was funny because to discredit and devalue me, they then turned around and justified everything within themselves that they discredited and devalued within me. And I'm like, you see what you just did? And no, they didn't. No, I absolutely didn't. So I'm going to do a video over it, make it funny. Okay, yeah, you can yell at me later. David is no, that's not the mower. That is the wood splitter. David is splitting wood. And I don't anticipate, well, it's 5. I'm going to make dinner. I don't anticipate him being up super late tonight. So I will probably be awake far after he goes to bed. So just yell at me. I'll be up, probably still contemplating all this. But I will say, it is funny that Mr. Walsh is from the area that the medical examiner of the family is. So is there another tie? Is there another that we're not seeing? And I also find it funny that John Walsh bought a property on Finger Lake, which is like one of the like worst places. Like, it's got the most, I mean, it's got a pretty janky past as far as like disappearances and trafficking concerns. So that is kind of what, you know, if you have the power to buy anywhere, why would you buy in a corridor that is being used for everything you're against? You know, I see weird things like that and I question them, and then I just have to kind of throw them to the side because they potentially may not amount to a hill of beans. Let's see. It says, do you think Brian would kill himself? Is he in the swamp? Does his family know where he is? People love rumors, and yeah, I mean, it's like that cheap bubble gum, and you chew it and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's what the story's doing. I don't think he's in the swamp. They keep searching down there, so obviously they have a hit for something. I would not anticipate him staying in the swamp. Number one, it's just this time of year, it's very difficult to know if you're going to be safe from hurricanes and tropical storms and depressions, all that crap. On another thing, you've got all the wildlife that is a secondary danger. And then you've got the wetness that would create a lot of health concerns. And so I don't think he would be there for an extended amount of time, especially if he's living off the land, because apparently he left with no wallet, no ID, no phone, no nothing, which obviously means he does not want to be traced. It doesn't mean he's going to go hurt himself, it just means he doesn't want to be traced. I personally, after looking at everything, think that when they took the trailer out for those 3 or 4 days, and people said they just loaded it and stacked it full, I think that they actually made little stashes for him as he made his run. And so I think he's actively, I honestly wouldn't surprise me if he's like paralleling the Appalachia Trail. And potentially going to a safe place or a safe house or somewhere he thinks he can hide out until the drama dies down. And then you've got to think, what is his motivation for doing that? Because you know he's going to get caught. So why is he wanting to buy time? What's the motive behind buying time? So it makes you think, is there something else that is going to come out that's going to have, you know, another spin on this? I answered this the other night, but from what I saw on the film of the body cam when I did the reaction, from his personality, he very much blends into a portrayal. He is who you need him to be so that he can minimize contact, minimize the situation, and kind of skirt out without anybody really noticing him. He just kind of becomes small and deals with it and goes out, and it's not confrontational, kind of wilts. So I don't think that he would hurt himself unless he was backed into a corner and he had no other possibility to get out of the scenario. And then anybody will make a rash decision. You know, anybody's subject to make a bad decision in that dynamic. But I don't see him readily going for that option. It would surprise me. That doesn't mean he won't do it, but it would just surprise me. With all that he's done already, that doesn't go with that emotional line. It wouldn't make sense that he would do it now. Emotions are high. He is sitting there somewhere and laughing. You know, he may be. He may be getting a big kick out of all this and dragging us all along for the ride. And that's something we won't know. Like, we won't be able to answer these questions until they get him in custody and we can see him questioned, watch him respond, watch the body language, and use the words, put them together, you know, view the mannerisms, and put it all together. And why would somebody go on TV and beg him to not give us that option? I mean, we didn't really mean crap, but to not give the family the option to have that knowledge and that closure and that potential to heal. It just all struck me very weird. Just very weird. Very weird. And it seems that the family is very well-to-do and very well positioned socially. So that may be throwing another wrench in the case for people. So I don't know. It's very strange. I think that they're just going to leave that one warrant hanging to get him in custody, and then when they get him in custody, they're probably going to lay everything else down, and then we'll know the full. We'll see the panoramic view of the entire case at that point. But I think they're withholding it to make him feel safe, to give him a little bit of a cocky edge, and think he'll mess up. He'll make a mistake and mess up because he's cocky, because he thinks nobody can find him, and that the cops are far behind, and that'll boost his ego and make him make some mistakes, and they'll find him. That's kind of how I feel about it. But now y'all know, when I reacted to that body cam footage, I immediately got a weird vibe from him. That it was disjointed. He wasn't making sense. He was jumping and not following a pattern of behavior. And then he was giving me full-on victim, feel bad for me. And then when I started to see him switch, and he started to switch more quickly, I realized he was going through two different personas. I saw Dog the Bounty Hunter come out of the parents' home. Does anybody think he's going to be like is he just after the 25K? Is this just like a career rebirth for him, or do you think he's actually in it for all the right reasons? Kazi, what you doing? That poor little dog would get into anything. But I did see Dog the Bounty Hunter leaving, and you know, Dog's had some stuff around his name and stability the last couple years too, and you just kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. He's good at what he does, so maybe he'll find him. It would it would be nice to know the motivation behind it. Oh, is it 120? I thought it was just 25K. Oh my gosh, it's 120K. Well, no wonder he's on the case. Did Ron add 50K? Is he not the sweetest young man? Is Ryan not the sweet? Y'all, like, we got a really funny. He jumped into chat yesterday, and I updated him. I picked on him a little bit, and then I updated him because he was trying to get just an update. And I'm here to tell y'all, if y'all are not a fan of Ron, you need to go be a fan of Ron, because that boy puts his money where his mouth is. He is a good young man. He's solid. What he says he does, what he does. I mean, he's just straight. I'll tell you how it is. And he puts on no airs. He is just himself. And growing up's painful for everybody, and he kind of hit some rough spots, you know. He kind of got stuck in some behavior ruts that he had to get out of. But he's just a good boy, and I like to see him when he does good things like that. So I know he's invested in the case, because I know he's spoken about it, and then he popped in to ask questions about it the other day, which I thought everybody's like, what is Ryan Upchurch doing in your chat? If y'all don't know, Ryan Upchurch is the reason I really stuck with YouTube. because I did a psych eval of what he was going through with the Katie Noel drama, and he saw it. And somehow I became like the unofficial Creek Squad counselor. I am everybody's Mama Liz. But Ryan and I, we chatted a couple times, and we do keep kind of tabs on each other. He'll respond to my videos, and then I'll do stuff to respond to stuff that's coming out of the media on him, and he'll respond to him. So he may jump in, God knows when. He may just jump in to say howdy sometimes. He's a good boy, though. He's a young man. He's not a boy. He's a young man. Yeah, Ryan is really somebody I think is going to be in country music forever. Like, he's going to be a legend. He's just going to be a legend. So that was fun. I thought it was funny when he popped in. I picked on him. I have to pick on him. I like to pick on him. He knows it's because I love him, though. He's like my bonus child. So he reminds me a lot of my son. So but it was nice to have Ryan Epchurch pop into the chat. Everybody kind of went, what the crap? And I just thought it was funny. Anytime that I can pick on him, I enjoy that. So that was fun. But I'm glad to see that he put more money on that. And that hopefully will make people, you know, talk more. Pay more attention. If it just brings more awareness and it stays in the forefront, people will remember if they've, you know, if they run across somebody, it will be kind of there. Acting on emotions is absolutely the worst thing to do. It snowballs. Just because people are mad. Yeah, it does. It really takes you on a ride you did not invest in, but you just hopped into that vehicle, that anger vehicle, and just plowed on down the hill. And then by the time you get to the bottom of the hill, you look back and you go, oh crap, I did all that. And so I like to tell people, hey, be aware. Look at the behavior paths you fall into. If you start seeing a path that's causing you a lot of trouble, acknowledge it. Deal with it. Because that will make your body and your mind aware of it, and you'll start, instead of reacting, you'll start feeling the reaction. You'll start listening to yourself and go, I gave myself that go ahead and I don't need to do that. And you'll start to challenge yourself to make better decisions. And it's great to have that little person inside your head go, wait 1 minute, lady. I don't need, Lord, y'all don't want me to sing. I used to sing with my mom and daddy in church. We had a gospel group. Mostly I just sing now to make people laugh. I couldn't sing for nothing. I would love to write a book with him because he's got some really awesome views on like past life regression and paranormal stuff, and you know, I'll kind of get into that stuff too. I wouldn't care to do a book with him. It says, but because of so many things being made up, or yeah, people take it the wrong way. Yeah, we all get this little movie in our head of how we think it should be, and we can't accept other people's perspectives or opinions, or, you know, like the response I got on the John Walsh thing, that, you know, they first tried to discredit me, devalue me, create an equality issue with why I should not be able to open my mouth about this, and then turn around and justify allowing emotions dictate that we should harm somebody. And I'm like, but if we justify that you should be able to do physical harm based off of emotions, then whoever did that to Gabby, you just justified what they did. So you become what you despise. I just don't like circles. I just don't like circles. And I asked them, I said, if we give that justification to everybody, where does it end? Where does it end? Because if we allow the domino effect of everyone that's hurt gets to hurt somebody else, it would be a never-ending cycle. And that would just create a whole lot of more hurt people in these scenarios that you feel sorry for, but then you justify hurting someone else. But then they're going to have people that are going to feel bad, and it's just circles. People are, yeah, they're stopping about the summer wells. People are getting disenchanted with it, and I'm still watching because I'm waiting for law enforcement to say something, and when they say something I will talk about it. But yeah, they're slowing down. It's not that, you know, shiny thing right now that's taking their attention, so they forget about it. Alicia says, darn right, not everyone is ready to have discussions with each other. Yeah. I kind of, I do try to step out of myself and say, how would other people view me and my behavior? And then I do, because I am a spiritual person, I do think, how is this registering to my higher being? I'm not trying to, like, if it's great. Everybody needs to have a higher being, because that's accountability. And honestly, I don't care if you pray to your cat booger. As long as you hold yourself accountable to something, it creates a much better relationship with emotional stability, emotional accountability, and societal function. Snowball says, emotions make a false 911 call, 4 shots being fired, then the cops had to look into it. Wow. So did that actually happen? I'd seen a couple of videos make mention of something like that. Yeah, I'm still following the Summer Wells case too, Spirit. I'm still following too. And as soon as I have more information, I will share it. I just don't like to share things with you all that like have a false basis, or are too, like, we can get on here and talk about what we think and our ideas, but I don't like to, like, pitching down a path of pure speculation. I'm trying to be very careful. So I try not to just, like, like, I've not even spoke about the neighbor and the scream and all that stuff, because I'm like, I can't understand what the benefit of her coming out now and doing it is, because if she told law enforcement, then it stops. That's where the benefit is. So why are we now talking about it over here? And it doesn't, to me, it doesn't change how the case is functioning, how it's being investigated. And I'm just like, I'll sit that over here and hold on to it, but I don't think it's worth talking about. Priscilla, you think he's left country? Well, his parents are definitely socially positioned, better than most. So he may have options that other people don't have. The prank call from Candace. Oh, that Candace made. Okay, yeah. Yeah. And somebody asked me about that prank call. I didn't talk a whole lot about it. There's like, what did you think about that prank call? It might have been Sharon that asked me, and I said I felt like I'd gone to a show that I wanted to ask for my money back, because it wasn't good acting, it wasn't good content. I just felt let down by it. I thought, if you're going to do something that severely horrible, do it right. Because I was just like, if this had been like one of those $3 movies, I'd been like, I want my $3 back. Because it was just, to me, it was just, I could just tell it was just all theater. And it wasn't even good. Yeah, like, the only time I ever saw her show any emotion was when she was talking about how the boys wake up, and it was so sad to see her boys hurt. But there was never, it was just all flatline for Summer. That bothered me. Dog the Bounty Hunter knocked, yeah, I saw that. They never answered, but now he's apparently on the case. He's looking for him. So, and whatever you personally think about Dog, he does get the job done quite a lot. So, I'm open to him being on the case. His motive for being there is kind of, I don't understand. But hey, he's good at what he does, so jump on in. Jump on in. Go find him. I have absolutely no problem with whatever tool that can be used, use it. I don't, people don't have to agree with it, just use it. And I would like to know his motive, but to be quite honest, it doesn't change my thought about whoever is on this case needs to be there and get as many people on it as possible. So, but Dog is, he's probably going to try to milk that one a little bit for some celebrity, which, if he finds the boy, hey, I'll pat him on the back. It won't hurt me at all. Well, it'll probably be a lot of federal tax dollars and a lot of state emergency funds, sadly. So it's taxpayers, sadly. But I will state now, somebody just said that Ryan, who was in the chat the other night, Ryan put another lump sum of money on the finder's fee. So Ryan's money where his mouth is and doing some good. I don't know. See, I've never seen a family build. So I don't know. I mean, that's like, you know, your grown child makes a decision and then they come after you with the bill. I didn't do it. And in Florida, parents can't be charged with accessory after the fact. So I don't know what leeway they could have there. I'm honestly, the web of confusion about the family in New York is what has perked my interest the most. Oh yeah, well, I mean, you know, if he is found guilty and spends the rest of his life in jail, then, well, that 30 cents an hour when doing laundry and cleaning, you know, state should keep it. Hey, how you doing? So, but yeah, I will say that the New York end of the family is much more, the New York tangled web up there is much more confusing and interesting, but also prime for conspiracy theories to start. And so I have kind of looked into it and the multiple businesses that the laundries own and the multiple addresses, and it's confusing. And I don't really know what to think about it. I don't really know what to make of it quite yet. But I will say that his mother is positioned very well with like the DA, and she was like a state employee, and is actually friends with the medical examiner that's handling everything, which I think is odd, but that's just me. That's probably just me. But yeah, I will say the New York side of things are much more convoluted and confusing, and it just, I don't know, something just does not feel right with the New York end of things to me. And I can't really put my finger on it yet. I can just say that I'm getting that weird, we need to look longer at these things because something doesn't feel right to me. But y'all know me and my gut feeling. God knows what it could be about. So we'll just have to wait and see how that one plays out. But yeah, I mean, sadly, more of these cases are occurring because of the heightened emotional status of everyone that's been in lockdown. People are on each other's last nerve. We've got relationships being frayed. We've got people that can't financially separate to get space. We've got people that are under such stress that they're making horrible, horrible decisions. And then you've got the other part of society that's lapping it up. And I'm trying to sit in the middle and go, I see both sides. I understand the stress on both sides. I understand the emotional creation of these problems. But we need to talk about it. We need to say, we see this, we identify this pattern, and we need to start having conversations in our communities about, are you okay? Are you struggling? Is your home life okay? Are you safe? And I don't see that, but I certainly see people getting an emotional fix off of the negative stuff happening. Family not grieving, no emotion, no nothing. Yeah, they've been very stoic. Yeah, they've either took him somewhere, or when they took that 3 or 4 day camping trip, they left stashes of stuff for him. Because it said he left the home with nothing. No wallet, no phone, no nothing. And obviously he doesn't want to be identified or tracked, so obviously he wouldn't. But I think when they went on that 3 or 4 day trip, they left him stashes along his route. And I think that's why they did it. It may have been a distraction to get the stuff out of the house and then to give it to another family member that met up and then drove him. But I think that he's got supplies stashed, at least for a portion of the journey to wherever he's going. So that's, like, if I put myself in that scenario, I can see that making sense. I am the person that, like, if I find a good vantage hunting spot, like, I would leave if it had, like, there was a crack in the tree that had, like, a triangle hole up in the tree, and I just stuck my little seat in there. And for like 7 years, I would go to that tree and pull my seat out and hunt. And I just left it there. And so I'm completely understand people leaving stuff in the woods. So that's my concern, is that he does have money, food, clothes, ways to hide himself and deceive people, and that he's moving. I think he's moving almost parallel to the Appalachian Trail, because you get into that really hard area where the ground's hard, the mountains are hard, and it's hard to track people. It's just hard to track people, and the up and down, and you can't walk 6 foot without a cliff somewhere. It's just hard to track people. It's hard to track anything. And so I see him going for that kind of terrain. But I may be completely wrong, so, I'm sure we'll find out at some point. But I just wanted to get on here and yap, do a quick update, and then talk about the nasty message that I got. And I don't mind nasty messages. They're really great learning tools. So when I get nasty messages, I really do try to have a dialogue with the people that left them, but they normally don't talk to me again. They really want to say the one thing they want to say, but then they don't want to say anything else. Which, okay. But I'm going to do a video on that, because I don't think a lot of people are understanding the mentality they're being stuck in when they get into these hyper-fixated places. And so I'm going to try to make it funny or humorous, because that's the best way to say something when you have to say something that's kind of negative. Say it in a humorous way. And so I just want to kind of educate everybody on, be careful who you allow to be the pace car for the emotional standard in the United States of America. Be careful who you put in that role for you, because right now apparently everybody's pace car sucks, because we're all over the place. So we need to get back on the same page. But I just wanted to bring some awareness to that and say, something, when you see this pathway of behavior that you go to that 9 times out of 10 gets a negative response, or puts you in a negative place, let's start looking at our path instead of the response. Let's look at the path that got us there, because we can change that path. And we just have to be aware of it. And a lot of people react unconsciously. They just brain vomit and react. Emotional, bleh, just here you go. And they're not really understanding the dynamic behind what they're saying is probably very similar to the dynamic of the person they're upset with. So it's just like, they have to be aware of these things. So, but yeah, Dog the Bounty Hunter, and apparently Ryan Upchurch upped the finder's fee for the laundry boy. So that's about the only changes that's occurred today. Maybe tomorrow, if we do another live, Ryan will pop back in. And we can kind of see what his thought pattern on putting that money out there, what he thought it would do, and why he did it, and stuff like that. That'd be nice to ask him. So I know he's kind of on a slight internet break, so we'll just have to see if he pops in. If he does, I will absolutely ask him that. But I think that's really, that's just, he's sweet, he's a good boy, he's got a good heart. Go listen to his music and support him. He is a good young man. Solid. He lets me pick on him all day long. He never gets mad. So he's a good boy. If anything should pop up, I will come back and do a really quick live or do a really quick video update. But that's kind of where we are. So as you interact with people on this topic, because it's getting, the longer it stagnates, the more people will get emotional, because they have to feed that monster. And if law enforcement and the news isn't going to do it, then they're going to create their own monster. So be careful when people are discussing this case, and watch out for the super hyper emotional people. And please be careful when you interact with them, because they will drag you right down the same path with them, and that's not a good path. So just be careful who you interact with, and be careful the emotions you choose to interact with. It's been a pleasure to have you here too. I'm glad you caught me too. And this is just a check-in, because I know everybody's, this is getting rough emotionally. A lot of people are acting out. So I just like to do a check-in and make sure everybody's okay. If anything changes, I will be back. I'm going to go and see what Kazi is trying to destroy. And then I'm going to prop my feet up and watch the sunset. So I will talk to you later. Love yous. Bye.